up, gamers and book lovers? I'm finally back doing our review of Calamity, the third and final book of the Reckoner series by Brandon Sanderson. Now, you may be wondering why it took me so long. Well, as you know, I was really waiting for the game to show up because this is primarily a board game channel. I just wanted to show you guys. It's here. I've got it. The Reckoners. It's a big beast, and we're definitely going to be reviewing it in the near future. So now I'm just going to put this back off to the side, and we'll talk a little bit about the book. So, Calamity. This is the third book in the Reckoner series. It follows up directly on the events of the second book, Firefight. Sorry, I almost slipped my mind right there. And following those events, we see the Reckoners in dire straits. We then go back to sort of our original team of Reckoners with Megan, David, Cody, and Abraham. And they are on their mission, of course, to discover more about the epics and hopefully save the world. Now, that's all I'm going to talk about. I don't want to spoil anything right here. I'm going to try to do this as spoiler light as possible. So we're going to do what we like to do on Dice and Dragons. We're going to grab our drink, grab our book, and let's talk about The Reckoners, Book 3, Calamity. Now let's talk about Calamity. And as this is the third book in the series, if I talk about this in depth, I will be giving away a lot of spoilers. But we'll still do our best. I'm going to talk about the characters. There will be some spoilers. I mean, there are some things that are inherently obvious just from reading, the summary of the story of the book, but let's go through it. So we'll start with David Charleston. Now, after the events of Firefight, David has found himself in charge of what is left of the Reckoners. Now, that is a little bit of a spoiler. If you guys don't want to hear any more, maybe you should stop, right here. Come back after you've read the book. Well, after what happened with regards to Prof, David has assumed leadership of the Reckoners, and what has happened is that he has teamed up with Cody and Abraham, who were able to safely get out of New Chicago before Prof shows up, and they were also able to safely get Conflux out of the city. Now, unfortunately, because they no longer have Prof leading them, the Reckoners are in dire straits. They don't have a lot of equipment. They need to do something to try to, save the world and also wake Prof up, bring him back to himself. So the book is going to open with David leading the team as they go to attack the Nighthawk Foundry. Now, Megan is back again as a full-fledged member of the team, and there is a lot of interesting stuff going on with her. I don't want to spoil it too much, but she has sort of found ways to resist the darkness that is inherent when it comes to using your epic powers. And her character really is advanced from where we saw her in the first book, and even in Firefight, where she's more comfortable with who she is, and she's willing to do pretty much anything to rid the world of the darkness in order to free the epics, because she just doesn't want to live in this society anymore and also live with the threat that, maybe she's going to go crazy and kill someone. So her character is advanced very well, and there's some really great stuff with Megan in the book, and honestly, her and David, and also her relationship with David, is part of my favorite aspect of the book. Now let's talk about Cody and Abraham, and I'm lumping the two of them together because, in all honesty, not much has changed. There isn't too much character growth for both of those characters. They are pretty much exactly who we know them to be from Steelheart. Now, there is a little bit more details about who they are, a little bit more about their backstory, and you do see their personalities a little bit more fleshed out, dealing with the new challenges, but they still provide a lot of great assistance to David and Megan. And once again, this is really David and Megan's story, but they're great supporting characters, and the book would be far less without them. And I do like that we learn a little bit more about Abraham, since he does not decide to take the leadership role. That's something that you would have expected. Now, you will see Tia in the book. I'm not going to talk too much about Tia, but suffice it to say, she's in a much more difficult situation than she was in Firefight. She's definitely desperate and doing everything she can to bring Prof back. Now, we're going to talk about Prof, because we've got our two main our two antagonists, which is Prof and Obliteration. And I gotta say, I really liked what happened with Prof. It was a nice foil. It was really interesting to sort of get the whole story of what happens to an epic, the story of the darkness, and how that really affects them. And it was one of my favorite aspects of the book. As a foil for the Reckoners, Prof is a great antagonist, and it was just a pleasure to see that different side of him. And I really enjoy overall where the book goes with his story. Now, Obliteration, once again, is a fascinating antagonist for David in particular. And not going to talk much more about it, but his character is there in full force. He's got his own agenda. And what I really like is that it really felt like those superhero comics where you've got two antagonists. Maybe they're on the same team. Are they really on the same team? Both have their own agenda. And both of them also know a lot of different things about what's really going on in the world. And Obliteration was a great addition to the story. I did not think we would see him back after Firefight, but really happy to see him. Now there is also Larcener. And Larcener is probably one of the most fascinating characters that you're going to be encountering in all of the Reckoners. And I'm going to leave it at that, but just pay attention to what he says. Once you figure everything out and all the pieces fall together, you will very much be pleasantly surprised. Now, let's talk about the setting, because primarily this story is being told in Ildethia. And for those of you that are wondering why I'm just talking about the settings, I know there's a lot of other smaller minor epics. I don't want to go into too much detail, so I'm moving on to the setting. So, Ildethia, the city of salt, which is a moving city. It is formerly Atlanta, and what's happened is that basically the downtown core of Atlanta was turned into salt, and it moves across the country. So every day, buildings decay, and new buildings rise, always in the same area of the city. So it's this sort of moving print, well, not moving print, but sort of maybe a moving impression of a city that constantly goes and goes and goes. Also, you have some epics there that are very good at growing food. So the city moves around, grows its own food, and trades. Ildethia is a fascinating place. I've never imagined anything like it before. I really got to give Brandon Sanderson props for creating it. And I did really enjoy that aspect of the book. The powers and the people, and the powers, I'm talking about the other epics that live in Ildethia, were very fascinating. So we've talked about our heroes, we've talked about our antagonists. Now let's give a rating for the book as a whole. So when it comes to resolving everything, all the things that you were wondering about with regards to the Reckoners, the book does very well. I really enjoyed the story. It is a satisfying conclusion for the story that began in Steelheart, but I do want to warn readers, this is not like your point final. This is not the end of the Reckoner story. Now, there's supposed to be another series coming out, another YA series called, I believe it's the Doomguard, if I'm not mistaken, by Brandon Sanderson. Now, that has been pushed back, but it's set in the world of the Reckoners. But right now, this book ends, and it does end on an open-ended note. So we do get to learn all the secrets, all the questions are answered, and Brandon does a great job of that. But I would have liked maybe more of a complete story. That's something that we really don't get with regards to Calamity. Now, I don't know if Brandon intends to go back. He's got so many other projects on the go, but I would like to see him come back to this world, and more importantly, these characters, David Charleston, Megan, Cody, Abraham, Prof, Tia, a lot of them. I really want to see them again. And right now, that doesn't look like it's going to be a possibility. And while the story is definitely resolved, there is a lot of open-endedness and a lot of ways that the story can continue and progress. And I think that's probably the story's greatest weakness. While it does have a nice resolution and finishes strongly, I think a lot of the open-ended elements will irritate maybe some readers that wanted more of a, a full trilogy where book 1, book 3, and we can close the book on the whole thing. So my rating is going to be, I give it a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. The storylines and all the points, with regards to why epics are evil, the darkness, how it's explained, is fascinating. If you've enjoyed this series of books and if you just like superheroes, I cannot recommend this series enough. I think you're going to enjoy it. It is very much a quick read. It's not going to take you too long. So I'm going to leave it right here. And with that being said, we're going to do what we always do on Dice and Dragons. We're going to grab our drink, grab our book, and get back to reading. There's a lot of other great Brandon Sanderson stuff out there. And if you like what you see here, guys, don't forget, comment, subscribe, like the video, let us know, and you will be seeing the review for The Reckoners, the board game, coming out shortly in the near future. So keep right here for some more gaming. If you guys really enjoy these sort of book reviews or these tie-ins to board games, let us know, please, and I'll be doing more of them. Thanks for watching.